So we could think that our emotions, strong, painful emotions, are a block between us and the divine, a block between us and God. Between us and the love of our own being. We could think that our emotions are getting in the way. Our painful emotions are getting in the way of us experiencing this grace. And from a certain perspective, that could be true. Because if emotions come up and pull us into total identification with thinking, then we certainly lose sight of our divinity. Yet I like to think of our emotions as a gift and a doorway through which divinity and grace can pour into us. A doorway through which godliness can pour into us. Now I know for certain that my having experienced trauma, grief, heartbreak, shame, so many just huge painful emotions, I know that those emotions have been the doorway through which I've been able to open to grace, to the love of my own being. On the contrary to these emotions being a hindrance to opening and discovering grace, they're actually your greatest ally. I like to say that emotions are a magnet for divine grace. Now, how did I come to discover grace? How did I come to open up to a love that pours into, holds and soothes this body and this mind? Well, at first I was told to use my attention. Anytime an emotional reaction would rise up within me, and I was about to be pulled into all this stream of suffering thinking, instead of allowing myself to get taken in by that thinking, I would simply drop my attention down into the emotion. It's very warm in here because my air conditioner has stopped working. Anyway. At first, it felt like it was me, the person, using my attention in a focused way to feel these emotions and to release the emotions from my body. Because what you can do when a thought comes in that's scary or shameful or whatever, and it creates this emotion in your body, what normally happens is this vicious cycle is created, whereby the emotion creates this negative, painful thinking. And that painful, negative thinking creates more emotion in the body, which creates more thinking, which creates more emotion, and you get pulled into this vicious cycle of suffering. And it's like you just get trapped within that. Yet what you can do is, whenever that painful emotion arises within your body, or whenever that first thought comes in which creates that painful emotion, it can work both ways round. Whenever this vicious cycle is about to be created, whenever you see that an emotion has risen up and it's creating these thoughts in your mind, before you get pulled into this loop of suffering, straight away you just drop your attention down into the body. And you may need to be alert for this. And you have some alertness, and you just keep your awareness resting within the emotion in the body. And if your attention, if your awareness is there resting within the body, then the fearful thoughts don't move anymore. You can stay with all of your attention within the emotion in the body. And the emotion can be so strong, yet there isn't really any thinking moving in accordance with that emotion. And so you're not suffering, you're just feeling the pure energy of the emotion, the pure pain of the emotion. Yet when you really come into that emotion, when you really feel that emotion with the full extent of your attention, with the full extent of your awareness, then you can't even really call that emotion pain, because you start to feel it just as pure energy. And I'm going to explain this in many different other videos, because I think it's a really important point, a really important thing to learn how to cut this vicious cycle and just be with the pure energy instead of getting pulled into loops of suffering. So I will explain in further videos more about that. Yeah, this video I was more wanting to talk about how emotions are a magnet for divine grace. So at first I was doing that process that I just described, and I was feeling the emotion in my body and staying with it, and that emotion would grow, and I would stay with it and not get taken into thinking, and eventually it would open up and empty out of my nervous system. Now at first it felt like I was just using my personal attention to do that. But then there was one day where the thought came, oh, actually there's something coming into these emotions. There's some sort of energy, some sort of grace coming into the emotions. And that is love. And so then, when an emotion would arise, all I would need to do would be to drop my attention down into the emotion. And in dropping the attention down into the body, into the emotions, you allow for this grace, this divinity, to pour into your nervous system, to hold and heal the emotions and the pain within your body. And so what started happening for me is whenever these emotions arose within me, it went from less being me as a person feeling them and thinking I was doing this healing, and more it became I was kind of, as soon as an emotion arose that was painful and was going to create this psychological reaction, I would just bow down and allow this grace to come in and hold me. And that grace is actually my own being. There's this love here which is so ready to pour its way into our bodies, to pour its way into us, to heal us. And the more emotion there is, the more opportunity we have to open to this grace. So it's as if the emotions are this magnet for this grace to pour in. And it's always ready to pour into you. It's waiting there, ready. This love, this beingness is waiting there, ready to flood your body, to heal you. And if you want something to do, the only thing you can really do is move your attention into the places that are painful. And if that becomes your practice, if it becomes your practice to, whenever there's a painful emotions in the body, instead of escaping up into thinking, dropping your attention down into all the points of tension and tightness, then that is how you start opening to this grace, the love of your own being, this godliness, this divinity. So you heal yourself by, just moving your attention to all the places where you don't want to place your attention. And from one perspective, we can say that you are doing that you are moving your attention into those places. Yet from another perspective, this grace is just pouring into the pain.